Good evening and welcome to the Sunday edition of Poland Daily. I'm Konrad Gorlinski. Let's take a look at the headlines. Well, more than half a year has passed. Tomorrow will be the 250th day of this war. Increasingly, Ukrainian children are saying that they no longer remember what a normal life and a safe world looks like. Today, the General Staff of the Ukrainian Army stated in its communique that the Russians have lost 950 soldiers over the past 24 hours. Experts, however, say that both sides are overstating the figures. Now, aside from targeting Ukrainian energy infrastructure, Putin has suspended Russia's participation in the grain deal with Ukraine, a deal that had just recently been brokered by the UN and Turkey. The attack on vessels stationed in the port of Sevastopol sparked outrage on the Russian side. In response, the Kremlin informed the United Nations that it was suspending the grain agreement indefinitely. Breaking the agreement will again block Ukrainian grain exports from the three Black Sea ports. Now, we need a strong international response, both on the UN level and at other organizations, in particular at the G20 level. How is it possible that Russia is still a member of organizations like the G20 if it's deliberately working to cause famine on several continents? This is nonsense. Russia should be excluded from the G20. More than 400 children have died as a result of Russian aggression against Ukraine. According to the Ukrainian Prosecutor General's office, more than 800 of the youngest have been injured since the beginning of the conflict. And to protect their lives, humanitarian support is being delivered to the cities near the front, but also children's bulletproof vests and protective helmets. Bulletproof vests of this type have never been produced because children have never been targeted. There hasn't been a war on this scale in Europe for a very long time. We hope that this will make the evacuation of children safer. Unfortunately, our enemy is ruthless, taking no allowance for age or gender. According to the UN Refugee Agency, about 90% of Ukraine's more than 7 million migrants are women and children. All of the refugees surveyed admitted that their loved ones remained in the country. Andriy Smechlinsky, a social technology entrepreneur, has created a new app that allows separated families to stay in touch.
I read fairy tales for her, and this book is special for me. Because it's far from me, from my heart.
It's even very good for me because before we fall asleep, we listen his voice and feel more safely.
The Ukrainian counteroffensive in the Kherson region is being hampered due to logistical reasons. A dense network of drainage canals prevents the maneuvering of heavy military equipment. Russian troops are preparing to defend themselves near occupied Kherson, which is being approached by Ukrainian forces. Yesterday, our boys successfully used 82mm caliber shells. Now they'll use mortars against heavier vehicles, armored personnel carriers, and infantry fighting vehicles. The head of the Lugansk region authorities, Serhei Haidai, reported that the Svatovo-Kreminna road is under the control of the Ukrainian military. As a result, shipments of supplies to the Russians are arriving with long delays. First, they sang the Polish and then the American anthem. And then there were other songs. As it is every year, the Polish Parish Festival was held in Los Angeles this past weekend. The festival is hosted and organized by Father Mirosław Frankowski, who is the pastor of Our Lady of Jasna Góra, the parish and custodian of the John Paul II Shrine. This year, the special guest of the festival was Dobrosława Szymanowska, consul of the Republic of Poland in Los Angeles.
For 2 days, Polish music sounded in downtown Los Angeles. It was possible to taste traditional Polish food, as well as spend time with family and friends. About 2,000 people attended the festival, which is a big success in Los Angeles because there are huge distances here and very many events every weekend. Very cool. We are Polish people from Germany. We came from Nauheim, not far from Koblenz. It's great. We ended up here by accident and are incredibly impressed by what we saw here. Folk dances were presented by the local song and dance group Krakusy and Polones from San Diego. Among the dances performed were the Polones, Polka, Krakowiak, Kujawiak, and Łowiczanka. Traditional Polish dishes are an everyday occurrence in Poland, while here they served as an attraction that drew different people to the festival, not just Poles. Kaszanka, or black pudding, bigos, and donuts were also very popular.
It's my first time. I've always wanted to come here. I lived in Poland for 4 years, so this is, I feel right at home. We were very impressed by the music and the dancers, and I would say the placki ziemniaczane, the potato pancakes, were quite delicious. It reminded my friend of her grandmother's cooking.
There was no shortage of vocalists either. Olivia Kierdel and Derek Wody-Kadej, a rising rock star. The talented singer sings in 3 languages. He presented to the audience a song by Czesław Niemen, Dziwny jest ten świat, among others.
Festival, I've been coming here since I was this big. My dad's from Wrocław, so he brought me here since there's pictures of me in a suit when I was 2 years old, walking around with my family, and this is like my heritage. I love this place.
The Polish Festival in Los Angeles was a chance for visitors to learn about the rich history of the parish of Our Lady of Jasna Góra. Many volunteers contributed to the preparation of this 2-day event. Preparations took many weeks, and a number of Polish organizations were involved in working at the festival. I am very pleased that the festival is again on our parish grounds. We haven't had a festival for many, many years. Now we want to return to those original festivals, where everyone has a good time, good food, good beer, good music. There was a bit of a long break between friends during this pandemic, but hopefully now it will come back and be the same way it used to be. From Los Angeles for TV Republika, Małgorzata Schulz.
And now some sad news from Korea. Shocked family members collected bodies. Parents searched for children. And a country sought answers today after at least 153 people were crushed to death last night in Seoul when crowds surged during Halloween festivities last night. President Yoon Suk-yeol declared a period of national mourning and designated Seoul's popular Itaewon district a disaster zone after the Saturday tragedy. A huge crowd celebrating in Itaewon surged into an alley, killing at least 153 people, most of them in their 20s, emergency officials said, adding the death toll could rise. We came here around 10 p.m. Then we saw a scene from a movie in front of the hotel over there, like things happening during a war. It was indeed happening. They were doing CPR here and there, and people were rushing in as if nothing was being controlled. It was completely out of control. The partygoers, some still in their teens, and many in Halloween costumes, were ready to enjoy the bars, nightclubs, and restaurants, where the revelry routinely spills over into narrow and often steep side streets. Instead, the street became filled with people crying for help, while emergency workers desperately sought to free trapped bodies and perform CPR on people splayed across the debris-littered ground.
There's so many people. What are you gonna do with 10 people? Yeah. And I had to turn around and I told the crowd, you can't come this way. People are dying. Because I already knew how bad it was. And people were being so rude. And I had to tell them, you can't come this way. And then it took so long for emergency services to arrive.
Families and friends desperately sought word of loved ones at community centers turned into facilities for missing people. President Yoon expressed condolences to the victims and his wishes for a speedy recovery to the many injured in one of South Korea's worst disasters and the world's worst stampedes in decades. Foreign leaders expressed condolences with at least 20 foreign nationals from as many as a dozen countries among those killed in the crush. And finally, thousands gathered in Mexico City yesterday for the Day of the Dead parade, ahead of the national holiday on November 2nd that honors those who have passed on. Mexico's celebrations are a fascinating mix of Judeo-Christian and old pagan beliefs.
Spectators crowded along the Mexican capital's Avenida de la Reforma to watch floats with giant skeletons and popular icons like Mexican painter Frida Kahlo. Groups of women with skeleton makeup and costumes in the fashion of the traditional La Calavera Catrina character danced alongside parade goers, dressed as Mexican revolutionaries, and various figures from folklore.
It's amazing. I mean, it's really interesting to see all the energy, the sounds, the colors. It's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Drawing on beliefs that the dead can return from the underworld, celebrations begin on November 1st with the Day of the Innocents to honor departed children, and end with the Day of the Dead on November 2nd for adults. Mexican families set up altars in homes, restaurants, and offices, beckoning home the souls of the dead with photographs and cherished keepsakes amid an array of candy skulls, chocolates, and their favorite food or alcohol. Offerings include pan de muerto, a cake sprinkled with sugar and decorated to look like bones, as well as tequila shots and a glass of water to quench the returning soul's thirst following a long journey from the underworld.
Well, thanks very much for joining us this evening. Please stay with us for Poland Daily Weather, Poland Daily Business, and other programs. But for me, it's have a wonderful week ahead.